welcome everybody, and keep those comments coming in about where you're coming from. It's really useful to see that. It's an honor for us today to have both Max and Sana join us on this subject matter. It really is a fascinating kind of space to operate in. In fact, Max, I think you and I tripped over each other. You sent me an article that you had written, if I recall, about that whole moving how do we cross the lines with CX and CRM, and it was based on a lot of work that Peter Drucker, from what I recall, had put in place. And what I loved about your article was it was so beautifully written and simple to understand. And in fact, I remember I have a quote here for Peter Drucker. Maybe we'll use Peter to kick us off today. The purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer. That was one of the famous lines that we all learned as a thing. And to me, that's kind of a timeless reminder that value begins with the customer, not the product. So I just thought it's a nice way that you and I bumped into each other over a Peter Drucker article. So fair dues to you, and we'll take it from there. But before I kick off, Max, it's always easier that if I could ask both you and Sana maybe to give us a very brief introduction to your skill set, etc., because you both have an incredible career, particularly in not just the technology space, but also in that consultancy space as well. Max, would you give us a brief intro to your background, please?
Sure. Thank you so much. Thanks for having us, Michael, and thanks the CX Academy for arranging this. I am Max Sabet. I'm a customer strategy and CRM consultant. So, as you mentioned, I worked in both the business and the strategy world, and putting together vision, mission, projects to deliver and build customer-centric organization, but also how technology can help us to achieve that, mostly and mainly CRM technology, CRM software, and AI can help us to achieve those great vision that a company wants to achieve. And it's been, I think it's been more than 15 years that I'm working in this field, different countries, the Middle East, Europe, Germany, and now in Australia.
Brilliant. And Sana, would you mind giving us a similar intro, if you wouldn't mind?
And I wish I could give such a similar intro. Max is incredible. His work globally. For myself, I'm a serial entrepreneur. My absolute favorite thing is to assist entrepreneurs to grow their businesses, and I've worked in both the finance and not-for-profit space a lot, and I deeply enjoy building and growing businesses. Our latest company, Platfio, is trying to democratize app builds, and it's a software platform where businesses can get on, build their mobile apps in an afternoon, and press a couple of buttons and have it launched to app stores and have full native features. So we love to develop things, both Max and I, that make it better for all kinds of businesses. So looking forward to the conversation today.
And Max, let me ask you one further question on this. If somebody wants to get in touch with you after this presentation, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can easily find me and Sana on LinkedIn, Max Sabet. Also, I have my own website, maxsabet.com, and also our company, Sana's company in Australia, maxinnovateglobal.com. Those are the ways you can easily reach us.
And we'll post that in follow-up notes to everybody as well. Okay, let's kick off. And thanks again for everybody being with us today. To me, Max, the kickoff question is really based on your own experiences. What are the main components of a long-lasting and a high-performing organization, and how does the vision, the mission, and values, how do they play a role in this? Can I kick you off with that?
That's $1 million question, but I can refer you to, in order to answer that, I can refer you to a comprehensive research actually by Jerry Porras and Jim Collins from Stanford University. They ran 6-year empirical project tracing the performance of 18 long-lasting companies from 1926, I think, till 1990. And companies like, I think we know some of them, like 3M, Ford, Sony, HP, Disney, Procter & Gamble, American Express, Walmart. So these were the long-lasting companies in that period. And the result was really interesting. And it shows that the visionary companies, those companies that combine stable core values and ideology with vivid and clear envisioned future, they outperformed the US stock market by a factor of 15 times over that period. So that obviously shows vision matters. But the other thing that actually, the one pattern in that research actually shows that the companies that did not endure was those that their vision, mission, or strategies were more product-centric than customer-centric. So they framed success as, more profit or bigger product line or more features, better product, instead of articulating that from a customer perspective, what needs or wants or outcome they creating for the customers.
And Max, sorry, Michael, if you don't mind, I'll jump in there with a question. Max, Sana, lovely to have you on. And Max, that I suppose focus on the customer rather than the product, does that give the companies more agility to be able to adapt then to the customer's needs and pivot as time moves on?
Exactly, because your customers' needs, wants, and fears, is evolving. Okay, so your product needs to follow that evolution. It shouldn't be, the product. You're not focusing on your product. You're focusing on the customer, because that's evolving and that's changing, and that gives you the feedback loop to update your product or service accordingly.
Yeah, excellent.
Very interesting. Max,
interestingly,
you had a build your own vision framework that you'd shared with us before. Do you want to talk us through that? Because that might be something worthy to share with those who are on board. We can get it to them after the session, but you want to walk us through that? It was a fascinating process to go through.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Usually we do this process or this project, for our clients in 3 disciplined steps: diagnose, reframe, and communicate or activate. So the first step, we diagnose we run a short focus workshop with the leadership team, with the client leadership team, to map the current vision, mission, and the strategic statement, the strategic intention and direction of the company or the leadership. And then that was the first one. The second step, reframe. We use, I think everyone probably knows about this tool. It's a very common tool or framework, value proposition canvas. We use that framework to reframe and rewrite that vision from a customer perspective, because in that value proposition, on the left side, you see your product's benefits, your product's features and functionality. On the right side is your customer needs, wants, and fears, or customer pain and gains. And the last step, when we reframe that and we write the vision, then we communicate that vision across all organization and embed that in teams rituals, scorecards, or publish that through via external channels, so it becomes operational, not just aspirational. Yeah. Actually, I can show you a recent workshop that we ran for a client to demonstrate this in practice. How we.
Love to. Please do.
Please do. Okay. I'll share that.
Because you're starting to answer the question, how do we do this, Max? I mean, this is what's key. I mean, really, because we're all facing these issues, and anything that can help us to bring our leadership team along is going to be hugely appreciated today. So this is great.
Sure, definitely. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, looks good for me. Siobhan, good for you.
Yeah, clear.
Yeah. And Sana, please jump in if you want to add any comment, note, because we've done this together. So that's the very great tool we use, Miro. So you see the framework here, those 3 steps: diagnose, reframe, and communicate. And then in reframe stage, we use this canvas. So your product and customer, we try to map then align your product features and functionalities with customer needs and wants and fears. So that's the outcome of a workshop, for example. Here, usually the leadership of companies and client leadership team, product owners or entrepreneurs, they know very well. They know their product very well, and easily you can list, the benefits of the products, the experience of the product, the features of the product. But this part, the right side, customer needs, wants, and fears, it's that area that needs more focus and more research and analysis. So we try to, again, with the help of the leadership team, and also sometimes we invite some clients and customers. We try to understand the needs, wants, and fears behind the use of the product or service, why they're using this product and services. And then so based on that, then we try to reframe the old vision to new vision. I removed the company name, but it's something like that. As this is a real case scenario, so real world case scenario. So the previous vision was the company is the best end-to-end app platform for building high quality code and complete app solutions. So as you can see, they're referring to their product. They're talking about we have high quality product. That's our vision. That's our mission, to build the product. But after reviewing this framework and reviewing the customer needs, wants, pain, and gains, then now you can translate that into the customer terms. Our company helps micro and small businesses own fast professional apps that deepen customer relationships. So we do that for a mission, we do that for values, even you can see that even the measures of success will be changed based on that. Now, for example, they need to set some measures that shows the uplifting customer engagement, because now is in their vision. Sure. Because the purpose of and the vision of the product is now to deepen the client's customer relationships.
And Max, can I ask you? I mean, it has all the hallmarks of a customer journey map. It's kind of interesting. There's a lot of things that are similar there, and I think a lot of the people on our course are on the session today would be familiar with that. Who should attend that session? Is it purely leadership, or do you bring heads of departments? What's the ideal group to workshop with to deliver that?
It depends, actually. We try to different project, different organization, different companies, they have different structure. But obviously the leadership team, from marketing, from executive level to marketing, sales, customer service, because customer service, they hear the pain and issues and inquiries, and also the product development team or leaders. We ask them to join this exercise.
It makes so much sense. It leads nicely into Sana. I have a question here for you that I wanted to kind of raise with you, really around leadership. And for me, the question is customer centricity. Is it a leadership problem rather than a staff problem? And is this the core of our dilemma? And for me, what I've always been feeling here, Sana, would be, are our leaders being rewarded for profit rather than customer-centric metrics? Over to you, Sana. How can you address that?
That's a, big question. I think before I go there, actually, Max, if you want to leave that deck up, I just have a story I want to share with the audience.
Sure.
Um, as many of you may remember, when we were first getting our emails, I'm not sure, maybe I'm a little bit older than a few of you. Many of us had Hotmail and Yahoo emails, and if you think about it, that suddenly, like for it seemed overnight, everyone seemed to get Gmail, and Google took over that email kind of base. And if you look at this kind of like thought process, what it was when it got broken down, it was actually something very simple. It was that Gmail was much more customer centric, and Yahoo and Hotmail were much more product based. So if you had a look at it originally, Hotmail had the ability to put things in folders, whereas Gmail would tag things. But one of the little nuances was that Gmail worked out that when Hotmail and Yahoo they were sending an email or attaching an attachment to their emails, the process of uploading it occurred at the moment that you would press send. Whereas Gmail worked out that there was a very high propensity that if you had gotten to the point where you had attached something to your email, you were going to send it on. And so it would start that upload process much earlier or at the process that you attached it. And so when you press send, it was like almost like magic. It was like almost instantaneous. And so there are these little things that we have in each one of our businesses that we may be looking at them from a product perspective. Whereas if we start looking at them in terms of the customer needs and wants, it might just be that we're doing the identical thing but slightly different and meeting the customer's needs a lot better. And so this is one of the things that we sort of do in the workshop is that we break down what the customer needs are. And it's not so much that we're replacing what product is doing, it's actually just adding another layer of understanding to it that we can sort of expand out. Um, in regards to your question, um, yes, there is sometimes a sort of like a misalignment that occurs in terms of incentives. And there's sort of that, I think that's probably the fundamental barrier. Like if boards are compensated um, on short-term profitability or share growth within a shorter kind of period of time, then obviously everyone's human and leaders will optimize for those particular things. And so the sort of I don't know, one of the things that we often think about is that the remedy is quite practical. It's to translate the customer outcomes or the customer experience, things like the long-term value of a customer, churn reduction, the payback periods on CAC, and tying those in to a sort of a meaningful portion of the leader's rewards. Those are the kind of metrics that will probably shift those things that you've mentioned, Michael, and some of those kind of like pet peeves or some of those kind of things you think about. Here actually, there was a story that Max and I like have often spoken about. It's that early on in Amazon, they had all the kind of the metrics and the dashboards that we all have in our businesses. And one of these dashboards was based on the customer service pickup rates. And so on the dashboard, it actually said that all calls were picked up within 60 seconds. So it's something particularly short. And the anecdotal evidence, though, like that people like had mentioned to Jeff Bezos and other sort of leaders, was that actually it takes a long time for your customer service to pick up. And so instead of actually just letting it be in terms of the dashboards, um, famously, he actually just called customer service, the 1-800 number, and waited. And from all accounts, that was the longest 10 minutes plus
God.
in that board meeting, where everyone that was responsible for that customer service experience had to just sit there and just wait for this 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, all like from all accounts, it went past 10 minutes before it was picked up. And so one of the things that I think we need to be sort of not only have the metrics, but also be aware are sort of scorecards and dashboards factual? Are they actually like, are they real metrics? And if there's anecdotal evidence, to actually go digging and look into it. And if our team members and our customers are actually telling us a story that's different to what we're hearing from the dashboards, possibly the dashboards, which often feel like a measure of control. Like it's like, I don't know, we feel like if we see a dashboard, oh look, I think I can increase that metric by 2% really easily, and that sense of feeling of control possibly, we may need to sort of look a little bit deeper into it.
But Sana, you said something very interesting, kicking that off. And you said, like, today, one of the barriers is that our board tends to focus on these short-term profitability goals. Now, I want to pick up on the word short-term, because you're right. It's, I think the world, successful business today, certainly in our business, we become very agile. Everything we do is bang, bang, bang. We're constantly moving with speed, etc. Do we give enough thought to the long term? Is it a long-term issue? Does customer centricity fit better in a company that's looking long term? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think here, whenever we start a business, that we treat it very differently if we're looking at a 20-year, 30-year kind of business.
Yeah.
The experiences, the value that we add to each customer. I know that a lot of the best companies in the world, not from all the revenue that they generate, they actually allocate a certain percentage of that as a reinvestment into those customers and that customer experience process. And where are the moments that we can actually, those reoccurring moments that we can have an effect on? So that long-term vision deeply baked in. And for example, Disney's long-term vision is to make people happy.
Yeah.
It's not particularly to build theme parks or build characters or movies. It's to make people happy. And one of the latest things is that they're actually building housing estates because their vision is so broad. It's also it's able to pivot and step into other kind of spaces as well.
Love it, and it is so true. It's funny. We track world class CX from companies in our own market, and one of the things we find every year is that our top 10, you can tell that these are 10 companies that are absolutely fixated with the customer. And when you go to the bottom 10, and again, I'm not knocking these companies, but these are companies that are fixated with shareholder value. So at the bottom 10, you're going to have companies like Facebook, Google, Ticketmaster. Some of them are doing decent work in this space, but their fixation with profitability is just killing their ability to become customer centric, like those at the top end who are really focused in that area. It's kind of an interesting one. Back to you, Max. One of the things that we spoken about in the build up to our conversation today was the relationship between CRM and CX. And it seems to be this constant struggle for leadership to understand. So in your experience, where does CRM start and where does CX finish on this customer journey? Would you address that for us?
I try. So the short answer is they overlap. But I would say that this is my view. So because it's still, authors, consultants, they're still trying to define the scope of these these two management tools and concepts, CX and CRM. But what I say, and based on my experience, so it seems CX defines the customer strategy and designs the customer promise. Is more in a strategic level, at a strategic level, and process level, maybe. But CRM actually it seems, is the engine now that delivers that promise and a strategy at a scale. And so it's not possible to achieve those the great and nice customer promise be promising to our audience, our customer base. to give you an example, for example, if your customer promise as CX team defines and design is a no question, hassle-free refund, then CRM software, CRM system can make it happen by capturing the claim, the photos, and auto checks the eligibility for refund, issues the refund and return label, arranges the courier, process the payment, and logs the outcome in CRM system. The CX team can review and improve the process. So that's how I see them. And a real world example, actually, I was checking the Zendesk 2025 report on customer experience. And it seems Lush delivers its customer promise using Zendesk, CRM and AI, and achieving this phenomenon, score and rate in FCR, first contact resolution, 82% FCR. It means 82% of the inquiries, incoming inquiries, that will be resolved in first contact, at first contact. So this is not possible. It's not possible to achieve that without having a CRM system and AI in place.
Yeah,
Actually,
and I
I
think
might share. Oh, sorry, Siobhan.
Sorry,
no, I
Siobhan.
was just saying that Lush example that you give. It's funny you say that we have our AI for CX microcourse, and that's one of the examples and case studies of an organization using technology and AI to deliver an excellent experience. And it was exactly that stat, that 82% one-touch resolution. But it's technology that has enabled that. And Lush
Correct.
are one of the very few organizations, one of the very few most successful organizations that do not advertise. All of their advertisement is word of mouth from their customers, that they are so focused on their customers and the experience. And even when you walk into the stores, everything is about the experience and their customers. It's phenomenal.
Very true. Very, very
Sorry,
There's
Sana.
That's correct.
no, there's a base like along the same kind of lines. There's a really great story that I love. It's around Chewy, which is a dog food company in the US, and they using a CRM, they have this process that basically when you sign up on the first of the month, every month, your dog food arrives perfectly on time, and it's all sort of structured and sort of systematic. And one of the sort of the unfortunate things is that we there are times when dogs pass away, and it's like just a matter of life, and this is what happens. And they one of the incredible things, like the stories that they have, is that it's not one of the first things you think of to cancel your dog food subscription. It's you've got sort of like it's a loved one. It's for most people, it's like a member of the family, and the following month the dog food turns up, and it's quite a kind of like a sad moment because your pooch is not there anymore, and you are generally calling up the company Chewy and telling them, look, can you cancel my dog food subscription? Now, Chewy actually worked out that in terms of customer experience, if you've had a dog, there's very high chance you're going to get another dog in the future. And there's also a very high chance that you are grieving. And so they have deeply understood their customer journey. And what they do really simply is that they have a process where they firstly acknowledge your loss. They tell you that they will automatically provide you with a refund for the last month's dog food, and they encourage you as a symbol to give that dog food away to either a dog like a charity, or someone that needs it. And they organize another automated system is they organize flowers to your home. Now, that level of customer experience is exactly what sort of Max and Siobhan you were speaking about, is that that level of experience is what the combination of customer experience and that CRM and that intertwined system, if you're looking to grow a business, there's also technology elements to that CX experience that this is able to deliver. And last I looked up, I think they're about a $15 billion company now.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Chewy. It's really interesting, Sana. I would say that one of the biggest challenges, the tactical challenges for large organizations with large customer groups is managing death. It really is. It's a very difficult thing. And I know that the banks, for instance, and large utilities, it becomes such an issue for a grieving family to close down accounts, etc. It's very difficult. And it's here we are, fascinating. Here's a dog food company who are doing it beautifully. And we always say you're much better off going outside of your sector to find magic. You really are. So Chewy, if I'm right, I think it's CHEYEWY. I think it's a .com brand. So if people could, if you're interested, I check them out. That's a lovely story, Sana, because it just makes it so easy. It really does.
In terms of like a practical tool, I was just thinking about it. In terms of a practical tool for the audience, what I would encourage you to do is look at your own customer journey or processes and what are the reoccurring events within that process. And for every reoccurring event, see if you can build a strong kind of like system around those reoccurring processes. Because if something's reoccurring, the worst thing would be to have like variances in what occurs for each one of those. And yeah, I often tell our teams that the difference between a good employee and a bad employee is a job description. And I think
Wow.
in this particular case, the difference between a good experience and a bad experience is a process.
Ah,
Um,
love it. Very, very interesting. Sana, I want to talk to you about AI because we're all deeply engaged in AI. It's hard not to trip over it on a day-to-day basis. From your own experience, how is AI creating sharper customer-centric culture? Is there anything out there that is driving that? Have you noticed anything that AI is doing brilliantly in that particular space that you could share with us?
There is some brilliant stuff that's happening in AI. There's like we were just talking before the audience came on that there's an incredible system called Manus that I'm like deeply in love with at the moment. And there's so many of these kind of systems. Max, I think you were looking at some of these things recently. Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. In terms of AI application in CX and CRM, so many things happening, and sometimes it's difficult to even catch up. But the pattern that we see is one pattern we see AI can help us to surface the signals from different channels, from chats, voices, as every transaction with the customer. So the teams can actually hear the customer pain. So I would say that that would be the first step. We need that actually to AI can help us to hear our customers from various channels, online and offline. And the other application we see that is AI, and you mentioned that Siobhan about the agentic AI. That's another pattern that we see that now we're using AI to automate the customer handling, inquiry handling, and act quickly, and helping us to automate this process of handling customer inquiries. So that's another area we see. And another high impact area that we see the big brands using is hyper personalization. Like Amazon, they try to, based on the customer previous order history, preferences, transactions, try to define super and hyper personalized offer and interaction for each single customer. And I think that's that hyper personalization at that scale is not possible to achieve without using AI.
Vaughan, you were speaking at an Amazon event in London yesterday, Were there any things that stood out for you that you picked up from some of the other people that were there? Anything of interest to share on that?
Absolutely, and I think, look, you hit the nail on the head there, Max, around, agentic AI and hyper-personalization. There was 3 different roundtables, and that was 2 of the topics that were discussed at those roundtables. And with agentic AI, what my key takeaway from this is that people are nervous about it. And organizations are struggling and challenged with, we need to invest in AI. We need to get ahead of the curve here. But I think realistically what my key takeaway from yesterday was, it's take a little bit of the elephant at a time. You don't eat the whole elephant, isn't that the theory? But it is piece by piece. And with agentic AI, and if we bring it back to what we're talking about here as well, it's about vision and values and, living that. So with agentic AI, it's really, really important that organizations are, have that human in the loop, that oversight, to make sure that the agents, your AI agents, are delivering the experience that reflects your brand and your vision and your mission. And that, I don't think anyone has really cracked that. There was some examples given yesterday. People are hesitant to name brands that are doing it, but there is a very well-known coffee brand who are actually doing it quite well. Coffee subscription brand. That was the information I got, that we can probably read between the lines there. It's a global brand who are have started their agentic AI, and there was an example given where somebody went on to order their subscription, and the web page failed. So the AI agent immediately recognized that they couldn't handle this because it was an issue with the URL or whatever. They couldn't do it. So they brought the human into the loop. But what the agentic AI did then was close the loop with the customer. They came back to the customer afterwards to say, look, we've fixed the issue, we've got your order processed, and we've fixed the web page for you, and here's the URL for you to use again. So, there is some organizations doing it really well, but again, it's getting that tone of voice right that reflects your brand. And I think organizations are probably starting to just chip away at getting it up and running, but it's really important that you overlay that vision or that mission and those values, that language, that tone of voice from the organization. And sorry, I'll give you one more story about hyper-personalization that came out of that session yesterday. And it was this member of the AWS Amazon Web Services team travels quite a lot with work, and he wasn't sure if his carry-on bag was going to fit into the, all of the different, he said he was flying low-cost airline, and the measurements for the bag that you can bring vary slightly from airline to airline. So he was Googling it to find out what size they'd accept. And he said within minutes, seconds probably, he was presented with an AI, an avatar advertisement of a man walking along in an airport with this lovely carry-on case that was the perfect size for what he was looking for. And he said that was hyper-personalization brought to an extreme level. He said it was almost creepy how quickly it happened. So that's the other thing around, your brand and your, it's about getting that balance with hyper-personalization. Yes, you want it, and it's really impactful when you do it right, but don't go to the extremes.
It is amazing.
That's a great example. That's great, Siobhan. That's human touch. Actually, everyone is trying to automate everything. Use agentic AI instead of human agents. But it seems actually the future, the human touch becoming the customer experience, the differentiation between brands. Because everyone is going to automate everything, so that would be we see same product, same service, they all automated the same process. So that's totally true that human touch is missing if they don't cover that.
And Max, can I ask you, we hear lots, Siobhan, you and I would hear this regularly, that in the future, human touch may be a luxury benefit, and companies will start charging for that. What are your thoughts on that? Is that something you're seeing in your markets?
Siobhan, you.
Yeah, certainly it's actually something that came out yesterday. And it was from a medtech brand who said, banks have been doing this for years, essentially, in terms of, you pay, you have your premium service that allows you access to a person whenever you need it. But actually B2B brands are going that way as well. And B2C, but there is that. Yes, we want to use AI to automate, to resolve the simple things, but ultimately our customers still want choice. And some people will choose to always go the digital route and always do that. But there are times when you need the human touch. An example or a quote that I heard yesterday, which I thought was fantastic, was, in terms of choice and of channels and the emotions that customers have. And somebody said, if your house is on fire, you're not going to email your fire brigade and wait for them to come. That's when you need a human there to actually give you that reassurance. Yes, we're on the way,
Oh, I love it. Well, I'm conscious to everybody that we're running tight on time, and there's a lot of Q&A to come through here. Before we start the Q&A, Max and Sana, let me just roll it out. If we always finish off these conversations with, if there was 3 tips or some tips you could give all of the participants who are here today to help them get maybe better buy-in from the leadership teams, to help them sharpen their business customer or centric culture, what would you advise them, may I ask?
Well, probably that would be, first of all, as we discussed, define your vision, mission, your strategy, values from your customer perspective, and articulate that, based on your customer needs and wants. Again, as we discussed, use CX as guide and to help you to define and design your customer strategy and promise, and utilize CRM system to deliver that at a scale. And also, as again, the last topic we discussed, AI. Use AI to listen to your customer pains, to automate and act quickly to resolve their issues, and personalize at a scale.
Brilliant. And Max, just to remind everybody, we will connect them with your 3-step structure as well as part of this. We'll make sure that they get that in any follow-up. Sana, any thoughts? How can you add to that? Thank you for that, Max. Any tips that you'd like to share?
And I think one of the things, just in terms of that AI, Siobhan, as you were mentioning, there are sort of little safety measures in terms of a lot of the sort of the governance stuff is what we also look at, is that we need to keep a human in the loop. You can run A/B testing on different models, just to make sure that there's no drift and hallucination. So hallucination is where like an AI imagines something, and it's becoming more and more important as the latest stats are that like 25% of the internet is the content on the internet has been AI generated, and as AI reads AI and then to produce its answers, in a way it's like like a snake eating itself, that it's producing the content that it's actually like eating back, and then it imagines things as true. And so it sort of requires us to like just look at the answers that it's actually giving and have that sort of that human process. Architecturally, we've also seen that the building of sort of linked pair engines. So basically you might have like an operational like relationship engine, like triggers like routing and execution, but then you might have like an insights engine with like prediction and propensity and like recommendations. We can get into a lot more detail, and like if anyone wants to reach out, we're more than happy to sort of talk through each of these kind of things individually for each of the companies. And yeah,
that is great. And gents, again, thank you for supporting this initiative today. And I think maybe Louise, if I could hand over to you, I've been monitoring some questions that are coming through. Were there any ones there that would stand out to you that we could address in the short period of time? We've got about 10 minutes left. Any thoughts there? Is there one or two there that stand out?
Yeah, so Emily says, when I present customer feedback to key stakeholders, a lot of the time any actions discussed are given to me, even if it's not something from my department, and it's often difficult to hold departments accountable for the things they can change. How would you suggest doing this?
I can certainly answer that, but before I do, Max,
Please.
Sana, any thoughts?
Sana, I think you know how to handle that situation.
Look, in many sort of instances, when there is an issue, I think the it always this is another Disney one. Uh, there is the concept in Disney that it is not my issue, but it is my problem. And many times we are given issues that aren't really anything that's related to our teams. And the best way that you can like structure it is to have teams that are versatile. And as a leader, to set the standard that within your team that even if it's not your problem, you'll get onto it. And you'll find that the teams are a lot sort of stronger and a lot more robust in the longer term because they've seen their leader take care of it, even when it wasn't their problem. And then what that means is over time, they become a lot more, they take a lot more ownership in the businesses as well. And so in this particular scenario, I would say this will make your department indispensable. It'll make you look like a superstar because whenever something needs to be taken care of, your teams are always up for it and ready. So I would actually just see it as an opportunity. I know that there is probably a more sort of departmental and political kind of answer out there, but we are in the sort of the business of being really practical in the teams that I lead. But Max?
Yeah. Well, thanks for covering that side. But from organizational, structure perspective, so that's why we're promoting the CCO office, the Chief Customer Officer office, because that office, we try to from different departments instead of giving that decision-making process or task or projects to different department that usually they act as silo department. That's why CCO may take the ownership of those sort of projects as initiatives.
Yeah, no, I love it. Siobhan, have you anything to add to that? This is something we cover all the time.
Yeah, I think, look, in any problem that affects the customer, it's very rarely one team or department who's responsible for the issue. It's 9 times out of 10, 9.9 times out of 10, it is a cross-functional issue, and it does require a cross-functional response. But it's very hard to get that cross-functional team together when it's reactive. So what you need to do is try and get ahead of it. And if I was in your shoes, which I have been before, I'd be separating the team from a specific problem and looking at it strategically and say, how can we strategically pull together cross-functional team that is focused on solving customers' problems, and that team is responsible for those issues rather than going to one individual. And it gives accountability that it's cross-functional. There's accountability then across all of the different teams. Sounds very easy. The practicality of getting that up and running requires a lot of stakeholder management, a lot of conversations, but it is worthwhile. And it's really about being able to show the benefits of that to the leadership team as well. But yeah, happy to take this conversation offline. Was it Emily that asked that?
Yeah.
Please do feel free to reach out if we can help any further.
It's interesting too, Siobhan, because I think in our lifetimes when we really engage in the CX world, we've always felt that the CX director or the CCO, it's a very lonely role, because in essence, you're a diplomat. You're in there trying to get all of these departments to work brilliantly across each. And we don't use the word silo anymore. We don't use the word department. We use the word kingdom. In certain large companies, that's what you're dealing with. So I always think that if you're in that space, it can be lonely, but it really is important that you get all of the departments to work together. Sana, I jotted down what you said at the very beginning. I think it was Disney, was it? It is not my issue, but I will make it my problem. Is that the quote? It was a
Very
lovely
close
line.
to it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, very close to it. I
What a
think that
great
whenever
approach.
there are it very much like in terms of the customer, for the customer, it doesn't matter which
Yes.
department it is. For the customer, it doesn't matter whether it's this department or the department, but just having that one point of contact, that this one person will carry it through, and whichever departments they need to contact to be able to make it so solve their issue. Another little point that I might just sort of flag here is that I just want to point out that no one ever complains unless they believe you can fix it.
Wow. Wow.
Because if they didn't believe that you could fix it, they wouldn't even raise it with you. They wouldn't bother. Like they would be like, okay, I'll just go somewhere else or operate in a different kind of space. And so I think complaints are one of the things we encourage senior leaders, that no matter how senior you become, to have some kind of contact with that channel that complaints are coming through, and stay on that channel, because there is a lot of gold in there. And with tool like AI tools, you can actually gather huge numbers of complaints and actually work out which area of your business you should be looking at, like in terms of that customer experience.
That's a stunning statement. And the minute you say it to me, I go, you are so right. I mean, from my own experiences, I may have a bad experience and I'm not even going to bother calling them. It's kind of like, there's a bit of that behind some of those responses. Superb, really good. And by the way, sorry, Sana, in terms of the previous comment, it's not my issue. Did you mention that was a Disney philosophy? I think, was it?
Yeah, it's not my issue, but it is my problem. But the other one's mine.
Yeah, no, I love that. No, thank you. Louise, I'm again conscious of time here, but where everybody's still on. So, any other questions you think we could possibly address here as a group?
Yeah, Kelma says, in insurance, we face lengthy regulatory approval processes and constraints that can make rapid iteration difficult. Where should insurance leaders focus their agility efforts to remain customer-centric? Is it in service delivery, claims processing, or digital experience rather than core product innovation?
Great question. Yeah.
That's a great question. So it depends, actually. It depends what is your unique position, what is your strategy, which area you differentiate yourself from other competitors. Because yes, it's great to address all those aspects: technology, experience, process, human resource, but because we don't have enough inner time, money. So we need to focus on those areas that generate and create a unique position or competitive advantage. So if your advantage is technology, so obviously you need to focus on building a better technology or better experience using technology. I think we discussed about that, Michael, before, about the Porter competitive strategies. If your focus is cost leadership, you use CX and technology to reduce costs. If your focus or strategy is differentiation, you use CX and technology to create differentiation and differentiated product or services from your competitors.
Fascinating. And we else want to address that? Siobhan, you came from that part of the world. Any thoughts about that from the insurance perspective?
Yeah. So financial services background myself, and look, I don't. It's probably to reiterate what Max said. There's no single answer to that. It depends on your organization and where your strengths lie and where you really want to focus your efforts. And I suppose I'll bring it back to the what I said earlier on. It's eating the elephant one bite at a time. So focusing on where can you get quick wins, where do you already have, is there a particular department or a team within your organization that is already really focused on customer centric, and can you use that to build some momentum and then grow from there? Because if you can show it working in one area, it's an easier conversation then to move that forward into your other teams in other areas.
I jump on one here very quickly, Louise. It's Amy. You've asked the question: are there any financial services companies using hyper personalization successfully for sales purposes and not annoying their customers? I did a presentation, I think it was last week, to a financial group, and in preparing for that, I came across a company called Square. They're a financial services group, and they tend to work in the restaurant kind of retail sort of area. And I just thought it was fascinating from their personalization, and they're in the B2B, they're in the SME kind of space. That's and what they do is they understand the businesses before they go in to meet with them and identify what AI solutions they should be using today in helping them. Because when you're running a small restaurant, whatever, AI can be a lifesaver for you. And their role is actually providing them, they do all the background work for each of those restaurants about what AI solutions that they should use. It's fascinating how they kind of personalize their solutions for the customer rather than themselves. Any other thoughts on that, Max or Sana or even Siobhan? Have you tripped over any fascinating use of hyper personalization in the banking world?
The one that springs to mind for me is ING. ING Financial Services based in Europe, Dutch, I think, originally. But they recognize how much information that a financial service provider holds on their customers. They know more about us than we know about ourselves, in terms of all the data that they have. So ING actually use that to help their customers in terms of their budgeting and real-time forecasting. So they send notifications where they see that spending patterns are out of sync with that person's long-term goals and short-term goals in terms of making sure payments are made and that there's enough money in there at the end of the month to do that, but also their longer-term goals in terms of their savings, their pension, all of that. So again, it's not necessarily a sales tool, but it absolutely does create advocacy.
Any final thoughts, Max or Sana?
That's the same. I see the same, features and functionalities for CBA, Commonwealth Bank of Australia. Actually, they give sometimes it seems they know better than you. They know your spending pattern better than you, and they give you some notification that it's more than this month you are spending more than previous months on pay TV, for example. So it gives you some hints that's so personalized that, oh yeah, well, I should go, and I totally forgot, for example, to cancel the other pay TV subscription that I have.
Yes, love it. Sana.
In terms of tactically, you can also reverse engineer your customers. So here, a lot of financial services companies actually have access to open banking information. So like you can access the customer's banking information in Australia, for example, and you can actually reverse engineer your customer sets. So you can work out what are the averages. So if you have a particular type of customer that is looking to, say, for example, purchase a home, what were they doing previously and what are the patterns of those people? And then you can actually target them at the places that they were previous to visiting you as well. And so there's a lot of predictive things that are available today that were never available before because you can actually just ask something like an agentic AI tool to go and run the query and bring it back to you without needing to know how to code in R or code in Python or any of those kind of things. You can actually just ask a question. A tool that I might, in terms of just AI, and it's a lot of AI seems to be very, you're either very deeply into it or you might want to venture in. There's a brilliant tool called Notebook, LM. It's produced by Google, and it's really brilliant for researching, but internal documents. So, for example, if you have a lot of information that your customer service teams need to look up maybe rules or maybe product guides or manuals or those kind of things, Notebook actually has this brilliant system where um, it will show you, what am I thinking? It's not coming to me right now. But when you do a search, it'll actually bring up the section of the manual that it's referring to. So it won't hallucinate.
Wow.
It'll actually give you referencing for everything.
Brilliant.
And so it's a great little maybe first step for any of the sort of the organizations that are online that want to try bringing in some kind of AI tooling into their systems, but worried about all these sort of hallucinations and all these kind of things. You can bring in a tool that will reference every single thing it says.
Well, listen, guys, we've just clipped over by a minute. We never do that. So that gives you some sense of the quality of the conversation today. Thank you, Max. Thank you, Sana. On behalf of everybody within our network who are here today, really and truly appreciate your inputs and your prep for today's work. It's fascinating. And then we have to say thank you to all of our graduates and learners over the years who are with us today. Brilliant, and we're loving your feedback, and it's great to have it. Louise, as always, thanks for getting us all here today. Thank you, because it ain't easy. And Siobhan, I know you're tired from all your travels. Great to have you back today. I'll be talking to you no doubt later on. But super session today. Max and Sana will be in touch with you, no doubt. And a super session today. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Max. Thanks, Sana. Take care.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.